A haircut today.
This meeting will come to order. This is a regular session of the Bloomington Common Council for the 7th of October, 2020. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Rallo.
Here.
Scambaluri.
Here.
Rosenbarger.
Here.
Sims.
All right.
Whoa. Well, that's not working. We'll come back to Councilmember Sims. Councilmember Bolin.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Here.
Thank you. Piedmont Smith.
Here.
Flaherty. Not here. Smith.
Here.
And Sandberg.
Here.
And there's Councilmember Flaherty, if you'd like to acknowledge that you're here.
I'm here. Thanks. We're having some technical difficulties. Had to log back on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a full house. Here is a summation of the agenda. We will be approving several sets of minutes from the year 2011. We will be hearing reports from council members, the mayor and city offices, council committees, and members of the public. We will hear appointments to boards and commissions. We will hear the following item for of legislation for second reading and resolutions. Resolution 2014, proposing an ordinance modifying the local income tax allocations in Monroe County and casting 58.28 votes in favor of the ordinance regarding adjusting the allocations between the public safety answering points, or PSAP, and general public safety purposes tax rates without changing other allocations or the total expenditure tax rate. And then we'll have two items for first reading, Ordinance 2017, to amend Title 15 of the Bloomington Municipal Code entitled Vehicles and Traffic regarding amending Chapter 1526, 15.26 entitled Neighborhood Traffic Safety Program by replacing the Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Program with the Traffic Calming and Greenways Program. And Ordinance 2021 to amend Title 12, Streets, Sidewalks, and Storm Sewers, and Title 17, Construction Regulations of the Bloomington Municipal Code regarding deleting Chapter 12.08, Excavations, and replacing it with Chapter 12.08, Use of the Right-of-Way, and adding a new Chapter 12.10, Enforcement and Penalties, and deleting 3 sections of Chapter 12.04, General Regulations, and revising 1 section of Chapter 17.08, Administration and Enforcement. We will then have an additional period for public comment. We will take up matters of council schedule, and then we will adjourn, followed immediately as anticipated by a meeting of the Transportation Committee of the Common Council. With that, let's go to approval of minutes.
Sorry, one moment, please. Mr. President, I move approval of the following minutes from 2011. April 6th, October 5th, October 19th, November 2nd, November 30th, December 7th, and December 21st.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Mr. Lucas.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to point out that these minutes are from a meeting that occurred before the current council members were on the council, and our rules of procedure, Robert's Rules of Orders, calls for a committee of the council to actually take up and approve those minutes. This is similar to sets of minutes from 2019 that the council approved earlier this year. I think if the council wants to approve these minutes in the ordinary course of business, a motion to suspend the rules is in order. This is again similar to a motion that the council has made earlier in this year. I think that motion was maybe limited to minutes from 2019. So a similar motion is in order here.
Okay, I'll note briefly that all 7 minutes are from regular sessions. Is there any discussion of Mr. Lucas's comment or of the proposed motion? Any thoughts from members? Questions? If not, Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
Well, so as I understand it, I need to withdraw my motion and first make a motion to suspend the rules and then bring back my motion to approve the minutes. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Lucas, can she withdraw her motion without problem, or?
I think if there's no objection, then yes, that's the appropriate course of action.
If there is no objection from a member to Councilmember Piedmont Smith withdrawing her motion, then we will allow her to do so. Please make the new motion.
Mr.
Madam
President,
Parliamentarian.
I withdraw my previous motion for approval of minutes. And instead I make a motion to suspend the rules so that this city council can approve minutes of meetings conducted by a previous city council.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion on the motion? Seeing no takers. Will the clerk please call, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Okay. Councilmember Rallo?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Scambalori?
Yes.
Rosenbarger?
Yes.
Sims?
Yes.
Volin?
Yes.
Piedmont Smith?
Yes.
Flaherty?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
And Sandberg? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. Madam Parliamentarian.
Mr. President, I move that the following sets of minutes from 2011 be approved. April 6, October 5, October 19th, November 2nd, November 30th, December 7th, and December 21st.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are any questions or discussion on the motion to approve these minutes? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was a member of the council during these meetings, and I did read the minutes, and they do reflect what I remember happened, although it has been a while.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to approve these minutes?
Councilmember Scambalori?
Yes.
Rosenbarger?
Yes.
Sims?
Yes.
Volin?
Yes.
Piedmont Smith?
Yes.
Flaherty?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sandberg?
Yes.
And Rallo?
Yes.
That motion passes. Those minutes are approved. We now go to reports. We'll start with reports from council members. I'm going to start with the person. I see all 9 members on the main screen. I'm going to start with Councilmember Flaherty.
No report, thank you.
Councilmember Rosenbarger.
No report, thanks.
Councilmember Sims.
Thank you. Quickly, what I'd like to say is I am encouraging everyone to vote, and I'm sure I don't have to do that. But the experience is I voted at early voting, and it took 1 hour and 10 minutes for me. And I started at the line that was midway between Madison and Rogers on 6th Street. It seems like it could have been a lot longer, but what I really want to do is shout out appreciation to County Clerk Nicole Bowden and her Election Central staff. I'm sorry. What did I say?
You said Bolden. You meant Brown.
I'm sorry. I should not be looking at you. Thank you for the correction. County Clerk Nicole Brown and the Election Central staff, and particularly the volunteers with the boots on the ground that were doing all of the work. There's multiple stations set up, so it was a very smooth operation. And I would encourage everyone to utilize that if they so choose, or vote on election day if you hadn't done an absentee ballot. So really just want to give out a shout to those staff. I thought it was very efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith?
No report.
Thank you. Councilmember Piedmont Smith?
No report.
Thank you. Councilmember Sandberg?
No report, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Rallo?
No report.
Thank you. Councilmember Scambaluri?
No report, thank you.
Thank you. I do have a report or a couple of prepared statements I'd like to make tonight. The first is less than 2 weeks ago, IU announced that David Starr Jordan's name would be removed from the many significant buildings and places on the IU campus. Council's been approached with the question of what to do about Jordan Avenue. I believe it should also be renamed. There is precedent for changing the names of city streets. Even though Bloomington is more than 200 years old, we did not start out with streets named Lincoln and Grant, for example. Those were streets renamed just after the Civil War. At this significant moment in city history, I would like to propose that Jordan Avenue be renamed in honor of two people who have themselves been significant makers of city history, George and Viola Taliaferro. Tomorrow is the second anniversary of George Taliaferro's passing. The late IU president Herman Wells, whom the Taliaferros knew well, believed that it was not appropriate to name something after someone until 5 years after their passing, which is why the trustees who were going to name something after the man in 2000 did not rename the building that I used to know as the main library into the Wells Library until 2005. While I trust that there's going to be a public process to choose the eventual name, I am certainly trying to put my thumb on the scale tonight. But if it finds favor with public sentiment, I look forward to sponsoring legislation to rename Jordan Avenue, and I hope it will be named Taliaferro Avenue or perhaps Taliaferro Way, effective October 8th, 2023. And I hope we have Judge Taliaferro with us for many years to come. But 5 years after her eventual passing, I hope we can add a George and Viola sign to the new street name. I can think of no person or people better to represent our city and its values in this way. The second item I want to report on tonight is that I have today also written a letter to Gabe Gloden, the managing director of Cardinal Stage Company, an organization which is leading an alliance of several performing arts organizations to submit a proposal to the city for the management and operation of our old city hall, known since 1990 as the John Waldron Arts Center. In that letter, I expressed my enthusiasm and support for the draft of their proposal, which they plan to present to the city administration this week. And through it and this report tonight, I want to go on the record as supporting the award of a historic three-way restaurant alcohol permit to the building so that a cafe and bar may be built on the premises. I believe that it is the missing ingredient that made the two previous efforts to keep the Waldron running long-term by Ivy Tech and before then the Bloomington Area Arts Council fiscally unviable. To quote from my letter, I believe that your alliance with other performing arts groups represents a use case for these permits whose time has come. While your business is not restaurant hospitality, performing arts and restaurants have been vital to each other's viability for as long as there have been food, drink, and art. I believe that granting such a permit to a performing arts not-for-profit, who would then contract with a professional restaurateur to operate a cafe and bar in the building, is the right formula to ensure that it would directly contribute to the cultural vitality of downtown Bloomington. I am thus prepared to sponsor a resolution that would declare the John Waldron Arts Center a, quote, site eligible to be permit premises, unquote, the first such permit to be granted in Bloomington under Indiana Code 7.1-3-20-16, subsection G, unquote. I've asked Mr. Lucas to publish this letter on the council website. He or I is going to post a link in the chat of tonight's Zoom meeting. I look forward to seeing the exciting plans for the future of the Waldron solidify, and perhaps to seeing how such permits can create more wonderful third places while supporting the missions of arts not-for-profits and of saving historic buildings downtown. That's my report. Thank you. We go now to reports from the mayor and city offices. Is there anyone from the mayor's office who would wish to report? Seeing no report from the mayor's city offices, last call. We'll go to reports from council committees. Seeing none, we go now to reports from members of the public. There will be 20 minutes for this period. If there's any member of the public who would like to speak to an item that is not on tonight's agenda, please use the raise hand function in Zoom or type into the chat, and Clerk Bolden will call one person at a time. Madam Clerk, do we have any takers for public comment tonight?
Yes, first up, we have Mr. Greg Alexander. If you'd like to go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I'm Greg Alexander. This kind of seems unimportant, but it's a lot easier than what I really came to talk about. So I just want to draw your attention to what about 3 weeks ago you approved a rezone at residential at 2300 West Tapp. And I brought up that this isn't possible for multifamily. And I just want to bring to your attention, there's an example of that at 1414 West Arlington. They had a petition, I think back in April or May, in front of the Plan Commission to have exactly the same kind of addition to their home. They wanted to build a unit on the back of their home so that the garage and their bedrooms and their kitchen will be on the same floor because they're aging in place. And but their property was non-conforming. It had been, it's on Arlington Road, so it's a pretty big property. It really should have been subdivided, and so they built 3 houses on it. And I think they're renting them out. I don't know. I think they might have some business operation in one of them. And because of that, their petition basically, it wasn't recommended by staff, and it basically fell apart at the Plan Commission. And there's 2 lessons there. First off, they wanted density. They had built 3 houses and they didn't want to bulldoze them just because one of the houses needed an adaptation. And the other thing to keep in mind is, I'm not going to tell you who they are. I don't think they need all that attention, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that, for example, Councilmember Sims had not personally toured their house as a historical oddity or whatever. Kind of put that in a little context. Those guys are now pretty well screwed in terms of their plans to what their plans had been anyways. And all because they have residential multi in the city, and all their neighbors, of course, are residential multi or commercial. It's just insane. But anyways, what I really came to talk about, man, I do anything other than talk about this, but I was just at 3rd and Washington last week on my bicycle. And that's where a young lady was killed this February. And I was kind of curious to see the street engineering that had gotten someone killed, just because I just happened to be right there. That's what I'm thinking about. And I don't know if you guys have been there recently, but maybe 3 years ago, they took out the right turn lane for cars so that cars aren't turning through the bike lane. But what that means is that if a car is turning, they are going to have to go through the bike lane because it's the bike lane's to the right of all the travel lanes. And so I'm standing in the spot where a car would have to roll over me if they were gonna kill somebody the exact way that somebody was. They were at a right turn on red. Back in February, they were in a right turn on red, and they made that turn over a pedestrian's body. And if they were to do that today or last week, they would have had to do it over my body and my bicycle. And thankfully, a car came up behind me wanting to make a right turn, and they saw me. I'm in a prime position. I do my best to be visible, but I look up and what's been done? Is there a right turn, no right on red sign? No. And I'm thinking if people actually use this right turn on red, that's going to really sabotage the bike lane. And when they put the bike lane in, they really should have added a no right on red sign just as a matter of principle right there. We should have a lot of no right on red signs. And just incidentally, I happen to have looked up 10 years ago, I called Susie Johnson on the phone, and she was kind enough to tell me that they only put right turn on red where there's been a problem in the past. And here a girl was killed by right turn on red, and there's no sign saying no right turn on red. That's still legal turning movement there. Like, does our engineering department even care? And I didn't even know when this was, but just 24 hours previous, somebody was killed just 2 blocks over from there. Again, on 3rd Street, again, we had a consultant come and say, this 3rd Street corridor and this Walnut and College corridor are engineered like highways, and you got to fix that. If you want to have people walking, if you want to make your plan happen, you got to fix that so that those are not the most dangerous roads, because those are the most important roads. Those are roads pedestrians have no choice but to use. And here we've got 3 people killed in what, just barely over a year. We need to do something quickly about this. We should at least be doing the minimum of putting up a no right turn on red sign when right turn on red kills someone. Does anybody care? Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Yes, next up we have Alex Goodlab. Mr. Goodlab, if you'd like to go ahead.
Oof, I don't know if I could follow that up after Greg's comment. My heart goes out to him and also the person that was, that passed recently. Though on a more positive note, before I get to, I guess, the more negative comments, I do very much agree with Jim Sims with the sentiment of going out to vote. Very important, and glad to hear the status report about the polls. And shout out to everybody working at the polls through these much needed times. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into what I really was here to talk about, which is the budget for next week, and what I hope kind of happens involving public safety and involving the police budget. So as it stands, there is about $15,000 assigned towards gas masks. And there's about $6,000 assigned towards rubber bullets. And I think I share the sentiment with the community in that those are not good items for the budget, and they should be. The city council should take whatever initiative they can to remove those items or remove that amount for those items. I get that. Thanks, Piedmont Smith, by the way, for responding to my email and saying that what the city can do, which is cut the amount of money assigned to that. And the buck stops at the city in terms of whether they can, because they can switch the items. And I hope the city, if they're watching at the mayor's office, that you don't do that. And really quickly, I don't want to take up too much time, but I want to say why I think that these items have to go, which is that we heard from Chief Dekoff why, in particular, the gas masks are going to be used. The rubber bullets are part of crowd control as well. And crowd control in general is just, it's not effective. And really the reason that Chief Dekoff is giving, let's take it on good faith that, he's being honest and that they're just using it for training purposes. Okay, so they're doing military training, which is like, it's not needed. And we agreed, right, that we shouldn't have military training. If anything, we should have anti-racist training, which is 10K, and you guys don't want that for BLM. So then we shouldn't have gas masks and we shouldn't have military training either, if that's what it's going to be used for. Because Chief Dekoff isn't concerned about riots in the town, right? So that's pretty much all I have to say, and thanks for listening, and I look forward to another meeting next week, hopefully, where we iron this out. And I yield.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who'd like to speak, Madam Clerk? Do you see anybody in the chat?
There was a hand raised earlier that seems to have been put down. I don't know if Mr. Shelton would still like to speak. If you would, you can unmute.
Well, just very briefly, I want to, as a CASA.
Mr. Shelton, would you state your full name, please?
I'm sorry, Jim Shelton with
Thank
the
you so
Chamber,
much.
and speak here frequently on behalf of CASA. And Judge Taliaferro was for years and years and years the juvenile court judge. And she really set the standard for how that should be conducted. Judge Galvin has followed along with Judge Hill and now Judge Harvey. And I think it would be a great idea to recognize all that she has done for this community and for the youth of this community, which continues now through what Judge Galvin and what Judge Harvey are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Please use the raise hand function in Zoom or type into the chat. Second call. Last call. Seeing no further public comment, we'll move on now to appointments to boards and commissions. Are there any? Seeing none, we move now to legislation for second reading and resolutions.
Mr. President, I move that Resolution 20-14 be introduced and read by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to introduce?
Yes, Councilmember Rosenbarger,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
Volin,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sandberg,
Yes.
Rallo,
Yes.
Scambolari,
Yes.
That motion passes. Will the clerk read by title and synopsis only, please?
yes. Resolution 2014, resolution proposing an ordinance modifying local income tax allocations in Monroe County and casting 58.28 votes in favor of the ordinance regarding adjusting the allocations between the public safety answering point and general public safety purposes tax rates without changing other allocations or the total expenditure tax rate. The synopsis is as follows. Resolution 2014 proposes an ordinance to the Monroe County Local Income Tax Council that would modify the allocation of tax revenues between two components of the local income tax expenditure tax rate. This reallocation will affect the public safety answering point and general public safety rates authorized under Indiana Code 6.3.668 without changing other components of the expenditure rate or the expenditure rate overall. With adoption of the ordinance, the tax rate for the PSAP would decrease to 0.0594%, representing 23.76% of the total, and the tax rate for the public safety would increase to 0.1906%, representing 76.24% of the total. The reallocation follows the recommendation of the Public Safety Local Income Tax Committee of the County Income Tax Council and would go into effect on January 1st, 2021. You do not have a committee recommendation.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move that Resolution 20-14 be adopted.
Second.
All right. Who is here to present this resolution?
That would be me, although there are members of the PS Lit committee that may also want to chime in on the deliberations of that committee over the summer and August. If I could share my screen just briefly. Can everybody see that spreadsheet? Yes. So the resolution before you tonight, and I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself. My name is Stephen Lucas. I'm the council attorney and administrator. The resolution before you tonight is an annual step that the tax council has to make in order to allocate the right amount of money for central dispatch. As you can see in the chart, the light green row.
Mr. Lucas, can you move the chart over just a little bit? We can't see the left edge.
Well.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes. So I was about to describe the left edge. The light green row.
Okay, sorry.
Is the amount of local income tax revenue that has been allocated to the Public Safety Answering Point, the PSAP, which is our central dispatch. As you can see over the last couple of years, I will highlight, in 2019, dispatch received a little over $3 million from the public safety local income tax. Their budget's made up of both this revenue source and E911 funds. So each year, Central Dispatch proposes a certain portion of their budget to come out of the public safety local income tax. And based on that amount, which this year, their budget calls for $2,247,490 to be funded out of the public safety local income tax. The Monroe County Local Income Tax Council, which the Bloomington City Council is a member of, must adjust the allocation of tax revenues between PSAP and between general public safety purposes, which is what is sorry, give me just a second. What is highlighted in the orange rows here. So the public safety local income tax is estimated to generate just short of $9.5 million. In order for PSAP to get their proposed amount for their budget, the rate needs to be adjusted to 0.0594%. And the remaining revenue that's not allocated to PSAP would be distributed to the 4 units of government according to a formula set out in statute. So, and just to make it quite clear, this action would not change the overall tax rate. This does not change the amount of money anyone in the public is actually paying overall. This simply adjusts the amounts being allocated for between the dispatch center and general public safety services. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or I'm not sure if any of the Public Safety Local Income Tax Committee members wanted to chime in, but this does follow from the recommendation of that committee's work over the summer.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Would the chair of the Public Safety Lit Committee like to speak to this, or any member of the committee?
The chair of that committee was actually Cheryl Munson of the Monroe County Council this year. There were 4 city council members that served on that committee who could also talk about any of the work of that committee over the summer.
Any member of the PS Lit Committee is welcome to hold forth on this topic. No comments. All right. No questions from members? Seeing no questions, we'll go to members of the public for comment on Resolution 2014. If there's a member of the public who'd like to speak on this resolution, please use the raise hand function in Zoom or type into the Zoom chat and the clerk will call your name. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to Resolution 2014? First call. Second call.
And before you go to final call, I will just note that this item has a required public hearing, and this public comment portion tonight serves as the statutorily required public hearing on this item.
Thank you. Final call for comment on Resolution 2014. Seeing none, we come back to the council for debate. Is there any comment on Resolution 2014? Councilmember Sandberg.
Well, first of all, my thanks to all the 4 members who served on the tax committee this year. Having been in on that from the very onset of the PS Lit, it is a tough job to review. And my thanks go out to everyone on the committee for making these recommendations to us. And as has been pointed out, this increase in taxes is such a benefit to the entire county with respect to the dispatch center that absolutely is of benefit to all residents of Monroe County, and then to be divided up amongst all the public safety entities. It really is a savings to our general fund to be able to have these additional dollars for our police and our fire and our emergency services. So it's a good thing, and I'm pleased to accept the recommendations on behalf of the Tax Council. And thanks again.
Thank you, Councilmember Sandberg. Any other comment from members? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the public safety local income tax funds are just part of what funds are central dispatch. They are the larger part, but we also get funds through the E911 funds, which I believe is a add-on that we all pay on our phone service. And so from E911, they expect to receive $1.3 million for 2021. And of course, we see from the PS Lit, they expect to receive about 2.2 million if we apply this new percentage that the PS Lit committee recommends. So just wanted to mention that, FYI.
Thank you. Further comment from members? Seeing none, I will ask for the clerk to call the roll on Resolution 2014.
Okay, Councilmember Sims,
Yes.
Rowland,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sandberg,
Yes.
Rallo,
Yes.
Scambaluri,
Yes.
and Rosenbarger.
Yes.
That resolution passes 9-0 by my count. I want to thank everyone, including the PS Lit committee, for their work. We go now to legislation for first reading.
Mr. President, I move that ordinance 2017 be introduced and read by title and synopsis only by the city clerk.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to introduce?
Yes. Councilmember Volan,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sandberg,
Yes.
Rallo, okay, skipping Rallo for the moment. Scambaluri,
Yes.
Rosenbarger,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
and Mr. Rallo.
One more time, Mr. Rallo. Oh, we have to be able to hear it, and we can't hear it for some reason.
I'm unmuted.
There. Now we can hear you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can't read lips.
We
State
can
law
read
doesn't
lips. I
allow
think
us
we
to.
have to hear it.
All right, that passes unanimously. Will the clerk please read by title and synopsis?
Yes, just a second. Ordinance 2017 to amend Title 15 of the Bloomington Municipal Code entitled Vehicles and Traffic regarding amending Chapter 1526 entitled Neighborhood Traffic Safety Program by replacing the Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Program with the Traffic Calming and Greenways Program. The synopsis is as follows. This ordinance replaces the city's existing traffic calming policy, the Neighborhood Traffic Safety Program, with the Traffic Calming and Greenways Program developed by the Planning and Transportation Department. The Traffic Calming and Greenways Program sets the standard for the prioritization and placement of neighborhood traffic calming and related traffic control devices and requires a consistent procedure for resident-led and staff-led processes.
Thank you. And I have referred ordinance 2017 to the Transportation Committee. Madam Parliamentarian.
Mr. President, I move that ordinance 2021 be introduced and read by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to introduce?
Councilmember Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sandberg,
Yes.
Rallo,
Yes.
hey, Skibblary,
Yes.
Rosenbarger,
Yes.
Sims,
Yes.
and Bowling.
Yes. That's 9-0. Will the clerk please read by title and synopsis?
Yes. Okay. Ordinance 2021 to amend Title 12, Street, Sidewalks, and Storm Sewers, and Title 17, Construction Regulations of the Bloomington Municipal Code regarding deleting Chapter 12.08, excavations, and replacing it with Chapter 12.08, use of the right-of-way, and adding a new Chapter 12.10, enforcement and penalties, and deleting 3 sections of Chapter 12.04, general regulations, and revising 1 section of Chapter 17.08, administration and enforcement. The synopsis is as follows. This ordinance updating Title 12 and Title 17 does 4 things. First, Chapter 12.08, titled Excavations, is repealed and replaced with a new Chapter 12.08, titled Use of the Right-of-Way. The purpose behind this change is to ensure that language has been added to each section of this chapter that encompasses an excavation in the right-of-way as well as use of the right-of-way. Use of the right-of-way includes storage of equipment or materials and closing a street, sidewalk, bike lane, or other lane of traffic. Second, it deletes 3 sections of Chapter 12.04, which deal with walkarounds, as that topic is included in the new Chapter 12.08. Third, it deletes a portion of section of, one more time. Third, it deletes a portion of section of Chapter 17.08, which includes permit fee provisions, as the deleted items are included in the new Chapter 12.08. And fourth, it establishes a new chapter of the Bloomington Municipal Code, Chapter 12.10, entitled Enforcement and Policies, which provides more efficient and specific enforcement procedures. Wow. There is a note that goes along with this synopsis that says, this ordinance was revised after release in the legislative packet, but before introduction at the October 7, 2020 regular sessions. The revisions affect the following proposed sections. 12.10.020A1 by deleting title and replacing it with Chapter 12.08 or 12.10. 12.10.020 by deleting F and G and relettering remaining subsections accordingly. 12.10.040 by inserting a new subsection B and relettering remaining subsections accordingly. 12.10.040C by changing the amount for failure to maintain approved maintenance of traffic plan, including but not limited to maintaining compliant traffic control devices, from $100 to $500, and 12.10.050A by revising language related to issuance of official warnings.
Thank you. And I've also referred Ordinance 2021 to the Transportation Committee, and that committee is going to meet immediately following the conclusion of this meeting. We now go to items to additional public comment. If there's anyone who's not yet spoken who would like to speak on a matter that was not on tonight's agenda, please use the raise hand function in Zoom or type into the Zoom chat. First call. Second call. Final call for additional public comment. Madam Clerk, is there anyone who has raised their hand? Thank you. With that, now we go to matters of council schedule. Mr. Lucas.
Yes, thank you. Just 2 reminders. One is that the Jack Hopkins Social Services Funding Committee will be meeting this Friday to conduct its initial review of applications that were received as of last Friday, the application deadline. And also that the council has a work session scheduled for this upcoming Friday at noon. And as always, I'd like to know how many council members may be interested in attending. Possible topics for that work session would include two ordinances coming out of the Utilities Department. One is a bond issuance to fund a couple of their planned projects coming up. Another one has to do with Title 10 and grease interceptors. And finally, there's a Title 15, I think maybe a housekeeping type ordinance that is scheduled to come forward soon. So there may be additional items. It depends on what's ready to discuss, but those are at least three possible topics, and perhaps council members could indicate whether they'd be able and willing to attend this upcoming work session.
Do I have a show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a majority, so it looks like we will have that work session this Friday at noon.
All right, thank you. And just another reminder, of course, council knows this, but for the public, the council is scheduled to vote on the 2021 budget legislation next Wednesday, October 14th. And that will be conducted over Zoom as well, with the link accessible on the council website.
That is a special session, am I correct?
Correct.
Right, okay. Thank you. With that, if there's no other matters of business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, this meeting is adjourned. We will now reconvene in a couple of minutes for a Transportation Committee meeting chaired by Councilmember Rosenbarger. Good night, everyone.